for people who don't know, Paul Sapper was my producer at my previous employment, and my main ally in the war, in the crusade. So it's good to be actually on air with Paul. Now, Paul, give us your perspective, a bit of a rundown of what's actually happened with this retiree, this pensioner, and where we find ourselves.
Yeah, so I can just give you a quick overview of Livia's case. So Dr. Livia Tesiti-Bolt, she's a retired medical scientist, and what she was doing is she was merely holding a sign which said "Here to talk if you want," inviting consensual conversation from people. And she was in Bournemouth in a so-called buffer zone, which is an area around an abortion facility where there's been a PSPO in place, which has imposed this buffer zone, which says that you cannot do specific named activities in that place. And included in those specific named activities are anything which is expressing approval or disapproval of abortion, and even prayer is named. And we've seen other cases that ADF have been involved in, where people, for their thoughts, for silent prayer, have been criminalized for that. But in this case, Livia was merely just holding a sign, inviting consensual conversation, and that was deemed to be a breach of the PSPO. And so she was issued a fixed penalty notice, but she refused to pay because she believes, as we believe, that she has a right to freedom of expression under national and international law. And so she is now facing trial for refusing to pay that. And what we've seen today, as we've got 5 cross-party politicians who have absolutely called out uh, this shocking trial that's going on for Libya, because this is supposed to be a free country. You should have the right to have a conversation with whomever you want. And Libya was, as I say, just merely inviting that peaceful conversation, holding a sign, and it really just shocked a lot of people, of course, that in this country you can now find yourself in a place where you're dragged through the courts for that.
I am absolutely bewildered that we've found our place in this state. I want to briefly point out that Andrew Bridgen says that leader of the House Penny Mordaunt played a role in this, not whipping people against buffer zones, but in having a free vote and personally voting in favour of buffer zones. Just wanted to put that out to our viewers who might still be under the delusion that Penny Mordaunt is a Conservative. She is not. The number of you've got a number of cross-party MPs and peers, Paul, who are in support of free speech, in support of freedom of association and the freedom of worship. Is there not enough of them? Is this handful? Is this it? Is this part of the problem? How have we got a Conservative government pushing through anti-prayer, anti-thought, anti-Christian, anti-freedom of association?
Yes, so to be fair, this is a small cross section. There are more MPs in Parliament who are in favour of free speech and who did vote against buffer zones and who would stand up for the sorts of things that these MPs are saying. We've just got a few very brave MPs here who are standing up, and we really do hope that more MPs do join this call, because the next step here is that the Home Office is going to be issuing its final guidance on whether silent prayer and consensual conversation will be allowed in these buffer zones, which will be put around abortion facilities across the country as part of the public order bill, which was passed into law last year. And so the draft guidance actually was very good from the Home Office, which did allow these activities. But unfortunately, we saw 2 MPs, one Labour and one Conservative, complain actually to the Home Secretary James Cleverly about this. They want even that to be censored. So what we've got now is a situation where the final guidance is expected soon, and we would really like as many MPs to come out as possible and say they are in support of that final guidance, protecting these fundamental rights. And there are good MPs out there. They just need to be voicing their concerns on this and standing up, because, yeah, it is really important just for freedom in this country. Like, whether you are a Christian or not, whether you, regardless of what your views on abortion are, no one should want to live in a state, and Carla Lockhart said this in one of her comments, that where the state can say what you can or can't think, or who you can or can't have a peaceful conversation with. No one should want to live in a country where the state has the ability to say that.
No, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this guidance, the Conservatives were trying to roll back a bit and say that, of course, silent prayer wasn't ever intended to be a part of this law, and of course, silent prayer should always be allowed in this country. But these 2 MPs that you just named, they were the ones that saying, no, this guidance is not hard enough. We need to make sure that silent prayer is a part of this public order bill.
Unfortunately, that's right. So the draft guidance, which was good, said that unfortunately these buffer zones are coming in. I wish that was not the case, but they are. But it was saying that even though they are coming in, we should make sure that silent prayer and consensual conversation are protected. And one of our cases that we covered previously, you and I covered it previously as journalists, Calvin, it was the case of Isabel von Spruce, who was arrested twice for her silent prayers. That is for her thoughts. She was arrested twice. Eventually, she was vindicated, but only after being dragged through the courts, which is an incredibly stressful process. And that case did rightly get a lot of media attention and a lot of attention in Parliament as well. And so I think that there was enough attention around these sorts of cases that this draft guidance was saying that there should be exceptions made for silent prayer and consensual conversation. Those should not be included in buffer zones, which was good. But unfortunately, one Labour and one Tory MP did complain to the Home Secretary, and they want even that to be censored. But the point here is that James Cleverly has a real chance here, and I think the Conservatives have a real chance to say that they do stand in favour of free speech and they do stand in favour of free thoughts. This is like even more than speech; it's about your thoughts. It would be so easy to just say this final guidance will indeed be protecting silent prayer and consensual conversations, and that is what we are hoping for. Because at the end of the day, there are these abstract concepts at stake, but there are also real people, and we see that with Libya. She's a 62-year-old woman, and she's now facing trial for holding a sign. That could be someone's grandmother. We could see many more cases like this happening if this Home Office guidance doesn't go the right way. We really shouldn't forget the real human cost of this. At the end of the day, that people will suffer ultimately if that guidance isn't right.
Now, this public order was trialed in certain areas. It got pushed through the law, and now it's a blanket law across the land. And of course, as this guidance comes out, more areas will impose these buffer zones, as we're calling them. But what do you think the reasoning behind it was? Because I heard Rishi Sunak in Parliament saying, well, we have to get the right balance between rights, and women's rights to abortion was being impeded by people's right to free speech. And where do we draw the line? Do you think that's the case? And if that is the case, where should we draw the line?
It's a very good question as to why they were put out in the first place. And of course, in terms of the progression, it was previously that these PSPOs had to be put in place by the local councils, and that was the sort of trial period. So to speak, looking back in retrospect, we can see it as a trial period as to what now is part of the Home Office, the Public Order Bill. They will be automatically imposed around every single abortion facility, and we can see that if that does happen, and the Home Office guidance isn't right, then we will see silent prayer and consensual conversation criminalized unless the guidance is right. Now, okay, so putting that to one side, why this happened? So people who are in defense of these buffer zones will say that it's to prevent harassment from happening, for example. And of course, I am against harassment, Libya is against harassment, Isabel's against harassment. Every single person that ADF has been involved with on these cases is completely against harassment. The point, though, is that harassment has a very specific legal definition, and it is already illegal. The PSPOs were not and are not necessary to combat harassment. Neither are the buffer zones imposed by the Public Order Bill necessary. They are just the effect that they are having. On the other hand, rather than preventing harassment, it's already a crime. Is they're just censorious. They're preventing things which are guaranteed actually in national and international law, such as religious freedom, such as consensual conversations and free speech.
Well, this is interesting to me because some of our rights and freedoms are being impeded by this law, but the purpose of laws is supposed to be to address a problem. And it seems to me that the problem that they're suggesting this law solves is harassment at abortion centers. Now, does the ADF have any statistics or any information about how much harassment has taken place in abortion centers in this country? Is it a big problem?
Well, no, there is no evidence that this is a big problem. In fact, I believe I'm right in saying that there isn't a single case where there has been harassment. That's my belief at the moment. I don't have the exact statistics to hand, but my understanding is that there hasn't been a single case in this country where people have been criminalized for that genuine harassment.
Which just it baffles the mind. What can we do? What can people watching the show do to encourage the Houses of Parliament or the Home Office to make sure that this guidance is as balanced as it could possibly be?
Well, so I mean, we have tweeted, these comments on our Twitter account, ADF UK, so people can find it there and retweet and just raise awareness of this issue, and really just maybe write to your MP and say that you feel very strongly on this issue, that the Home Office guidance should go this way, and that you really do care about protecting free speech in this country. And I think just having it clear in your own mind, if your viewers understand that the framing of this that some people try and push, that these are malign people, evil people who are hateful and are there for bad reasons, really is not the case at all. They're just there wanting to exercise their fundamental freedoms. They love every single person who's in that area. These are, Libya's a Christian woman. There's no hatred in her heart whatsoever. And I think just to understand that this is a case of, of course it's important for Christians, but it's important for everyone. Everyone should want to live in a country where you have these basic freedoms, which have been a part of our heritage for centuries, really. And it's quite alarming. We're seeing this trend throughout the Western world, these freedoms coming under attack and a growing intolerance towards Christianity. But no one should want to live in a country where these freedoms which have been part of our heritage are taken away, because that benefits everyone, Christian and non-Christian alike.
Yeah, I think you put it well. Don't outlaw freedom and don't outlaw love. Paul Sapper, ADF, thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Calvin. God bless, and have a blessed Easter as well.
Cheers. Thank you for watching my Common Sense Crusade. If you'd like to watch the whole show, you can subscribe to lotuseaters.com for as little as £5 per month, and then you get access to a bank of content as well. My show is 3 p.m. every Thursday. See you there. Deus Vult.